When I say go, I want you to think of as many cities you can, starting with the letter S. Go! Time! How did we do? Anyone get more than 5 out there? Did anyone get more than 10? Not bad, not bad. But now it's time to see how AI is going to do. On your marks, get set, and go! You'll notice how AI can generate ideas extremely fast, and that is powerful. But I don't show you this to say you should skip your own brainstorming, instead to consider adding this as a step to the brainstorm process. Today, we're going to be going into how to use AI to brainstorm properly. Let's get into it. Step number 1, you have to be sure that the first thing you do whenever you're going to use AI as a brainstorm assistant is to do some brainstorming on your own. If you hand off all your work to AI, then your brain's gonna get the message that it doesn't have to work anymore. But if you're interested in more information on that, I have a video on that exact subject. You can click the link right here. But we're gonna go into more depth with this particular video because it's not the only suggestion when it comes to brainstorming properly using powerful technology like AI. So after you've created your own brainstorming, you have a general vision for what you would like the project to look like at the end, and you're ready to get started on it, but you're just interested to see if there are any better ideas out there, you have to follow this one principle to brainstorming, and that is this. Add constraints. If you've never heard of the word constraint before, it's simply the idea of restricting or constraining what AI is capable of producing. So in that first example, I didn't just say, name me as many cities as you can. I said, name me as many cities that start with the letter S. Starting with the letter S and making that a requirement is a constraint that you had to follow and a constraint that AI had to follow. But when you provide those constraints, it creates for much better outputs for a number of reasons. The biggest reason is that AI is designed to give straightforward, boring, safe answers. So if you go out there and say, brainstorm me anything within this huge category, then it's going to give you the most bland, straightforward, safe answers possible. But as soon as you start restricting what it's allowed to give you and focusing its efforts in a particular area, that means that the answers you're going to get are going to be far more specific and typically far more useful. So for example, if I were to ask AI to generate a list of points I could make related to climate change, I might get a list of things like recycling and polar bears and pollution. None of those answers are particularly bad, and they're all useful for that topic, but the problem is they're generic and they're overused. They're relatively low-risk answers, which means that your project is not going to be producing very much unique and interesting information. It's just going to be doing everything everyone else has done. Instead, you should be adding constraints. This forces AI to not give you the most common answer and instead will give you creative and unique answers. In fact, the actress Debbie Allen was famous for saying, "Out of limitations come creativity." And it's absolutely the truth. If you just provide zero limitations, then AI will give you the most predictable generic answers. But if you say it has to fit this requirement and it has to fit this requirement, then all of a sudden, AI has to be more creative to dig deeper and find more meaningful and useful answers. So instead of using the generic prompt of something like, give me ideas for my history project, perhaps instead you could say something like, give me 15 ideas for my project on World War II about battles that happened that aren't well known in the United States, but had a really important impact on the war's overall result. That is how you can find really interesting stories to dive into and to teach people something they didn't already know. But quick point on this one, make sure you do fact verification, because the worst thing that you could do is have AI generate some unique ideas and it turns out that none of those ideas actually happened. So verify as you are finding this information. A couple of last points before you go out there and do brainstorming on your own. First, it's really important that you actually choose which ideas you want to go with. Don't just assume that AI is going to give you the best answer right away. I love using the follow-up prompt, which of these do you think is the best? Rank them from top answer to bottom answer. It allows me to give a little bit of opinion about which answers are good. But second, don't stop at one prompt. Yes, you can get a lot of great ideas from a single prompt, but do some follow-ups, add some additional constraints. Even with that World War II example, maybe I could go in and say, constrain it even further so that it's perfect for an audience of veterans, or for an audience of elementary school students, or for an audience of average adults. But the point is to get the project to be exactly what you are looking for and to ensure, of course, that you stay in the driver's seat. I'm Luke with Groovy Education, where we have trained over 250 schools on how to responsibly integrate AI into their classroom. Links to hire us are in the description below, but you can also find access to free resources like our school community that has ready-to-use simulations, ready-to-use AI proofing techniques, and also I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button below and be sure to subscribe so that future videos can show up right in your recommendations. But until next time, see ya!